Yo, 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 everybody. Welcome to another episode of Forced Fridays. And excited to be here today. Kind of been a long week, so it's nice to hang out, make some music. Um, Here's the goal for today's Forced Friday. We'll talk a little bit about fixed length versus open length recording, some advantages to both, kind of the strategies that I use when I'm approaching recording something, maybe where I don't entirely have an idea about what I want to do yet. So this is kind of how I approach that. What's up, everybody? Hey, Michael. Nice to see you here today. Okay, so in with regard to open or closed fixed length, fixed, non-fixed, whatever, fixed length or not fixed length recording, you can get there by holding shift down there and where it says length at the bottom, you just push that on and that turns on fixed length recording. Of course, you could change it to whatever you want to, really up to, how far does this go actually? Holy crap, this goes like, now I'm like really curious to see how many bars we can do here as a fixed length. This would be so ridiculous, but I'm super curious as to how far it goes. I bet you it just goes 999. I don't bet you it doesn't go over 1,000. Come on. I guess I could have just started out at 900. No, what the hell? Holy crap. 99,000. Okay, so the maximum is 12,600 bars. I guess that's as far as you can go on this recording. So there you go. That's a lot of space that you got here to work with. We don't need to go to that many bars. I just want to do 4, but good to know. We can go to 12,000. That's the maximum amount that you can do. But what I generally do is when I'm recording, it depends. You know, if you want to move on to something else, or you're kind of doing a live performance where you're recording stuff and then you're wanting to stop and move on to something else. What's up, David? Then fixed length can be really awesome because it's just going to be, you're just going to be playing. And right when you get to the end of it, it's going to stop and move on. And in that situation, you can also use this little record button on here to turn things on and off. So let's just say I wanted this to be at 8 bars. And then we are going to record something. Not sure why that's so quiet, but I feel like this particular sound is really quiet or something like that. Well, anyways, we'll kind of just go with that. I'm talking about fixed length or open length recording. So this little button down here can serve as a start and stop time. So let's say I'm going to record something like this. Oops, sorry. I forgot that I had something already in the arrange view. I was kind of goofing around preparing something here, and that I didn't end up wanting to do it. So let's just record all, let's grab everything here. And then we're going to just erase it here. Although actually I can't remember. Let's just delete this track. Okay, so if I'm recording into this particular matrix right here, I'm going to record into this part. Let's go ahead and hit recording like this. So it'll automatically stop that. Now, the interesting thing is if we go to clip here for this clip, that if you have it set to quantization, it will sort of just stop recording, but it'll still make sure that it's a full 4 bars. So even though I hit recording off of that really fast, here, I'll show you again. Let's record down the next one. So it will go to the end of the measure unless, yeah, it's an even measure unless you set launch quantization down here to be at none. So right now I have it on 1 bar. If I put that on none and then I use this open recording and just kept going and I hit the stop button down here, well actually this record button to turn it off, it'll just stop at whatever point. So that didn't quite work like I wanted to. I turned launch quantization to off. What do I got not going on here? Oh, it was at fixed length. All right, so let's turn that off, fixed length off. That's why I was still going to full time here. All right, so scratch what I just said. Now let's start that again. This is kind of just for like free open recording. Hey, what's up guys? Oh, that's great. You got a new one on the way. We're just talking about fixed or open length recording at the moment. So this is open length recording right here. And I'm going to use this button down here to start and stop because that's not always really realistic to just like jump up there, especially if you're playing something down here. So if I was going to start recording, well, actually, I stopped at a good time. That didn't even give a good example. Let's try that again one more time. Okay, here's a good example. That's a terrible part to play. But the point is that I now have a loop that is less than 4 bars, and it's just whenever I hit stop on that. And that's great if you want something to be floating off of it. I think one of the most challenging things with the Force is that it's so rigid with regard to 4/4 time and, you know, straightforward music, which, you know, for most people, that's what they're creating. But I think there's definitely something to be said for like maybe having a part that is rotating and floating that's not in tempo or not in part with something else. Maybe, for example, this is horrid part here. Let's actually give an example with maybe something that works a little better. So I'm going to go to track edit and let's take it off brass here and just, actually I've been playing through the Selena. I don't know if you guys know, but the InMusic or whatever Air Music technology, which is owned by Akai or InMusic, the overall one, came out with a bunch of plugins that now work on your DAW. So if you want Selena and all these other ones like that, you have to pay for them separately. But I'm doing a review of those ones that I'm going to be posting on my channel soon. And the Selena, man, it's got some pretty cool sounds to it, I gotta say. I really like some of these ambient ones in here. Such a great sound. Okay, so a situation like this where maybe if you want to write something that isn't going to just be like, you know, 4 on the floor, such a steady beat, or even if you do and you like to have a part that is drifting away from that, you don't do fixed length, you put the launch quantization to none and then just play something and then hit this button here to start and stop when you want to. I mean, you could do the same thing up above, but this is just a lot closer. So if we were going to try this out right here, let's go ahead and launch something. So now let's go look at our clip. I got this odd length clip, and this is a really nice way for when it's going to be rotating through that it's not going to stay consistent. And you could put a bead on there if you wanted to as a contrast. I like the contrast of parts that are a little bit out of sync with each other. So let's go and load up some other kit on this one here. We'll do drums, and let's load these ones in here. These are some 808 samples that I made. You can actually find, there's a link on the table there. Let's do just a pretty straightforward beat on this one here. So let's go ahead and record that, but I'm going to change the launch quantization at this point to a bar because I want the bass drum to be on beat for that. So let's try that. So now they're out of sync with each other, but this is such a slow ambient part that it's the point of it is to sort of drift, you know, the strings don't really have a time for them. So now they're happening on something that is irregular. Now, one thing that works really great at this point, let me go to my matrix and my launch quantization down here. So you could always come in here, and then what I sometimes like to do is copy, let's just say that string part down to another clip like this. And then I want to just change the start point for it and maybe the loop length to make it a little bit shorter. And let's just do maybe something like this. So just one of the chords. So I'm just kind of capturing. That's kind of cool. So that's another thing that I really like about using more open recording. I don't always use fixed length very much unless I know the part. I want it just to kind of like go pretty straightforward in and out. But if you just record something longer and then take this loop and put it through and just put it in different spots and see what comes up. Like I could just move this around a little bit and see what sounds different if I move it over here. It's actually kind of nice. So I'm actually going to copy that and move it down, and then I'll go back to this first one. So I probably would never play something where I play this chord and then I hit a note just a little bit like that, but you get these happy accidents. I'm all about using tools like this to just mess around and see what happens. And sometimes, especially if you've been playing music for a while, I don't know, have you guys ever felt like you're in a rut sometimes where you're like, God, I just keep playing the same stuff all over the time again. And you just find your hands, especially just more of an idiomatic approach, you just play the same stuff all the time. Sometimes I like using these notes over here for the same reason, because it takes me away from this the patterns that I tend to play on a keyboard, and you can stretch. End up playing chords that are intervals that you wouldn't normally play over here because it's not idiomatic to do so. So I'm a big one to say that just like go through and like play a longer phrase and then shrink down your loop size and just move it around and then use your clips just to keep experimenting with them. So now I got a couple different clips here, different lengths. This one here. Yeah, so basically you just kind of build yourself a whole collection of little clips of different ideas and things that you like, and that tends to work really great. David, so good question. This is where it forces a little bit of like the bastard child in the family, in the sense that it gets these kind of updates a little bit later. It can sometimes be as much as like 6 months. So if history proves correct, we'll probably see it by the end of the year. But yeah, that's just kind of how it works. You just have to get used to being delayed on the force. Then you get to watch it come out in the MPC, salivate about it, and then, eventually it comes over to the force. Sometimes the plugins come sooner, but like a major overhaul and update like that definitely takes a little bit longer. So anyways, back to what I'm talking about here. Definitely experiment around with having some stuff be like outside of the normal length of things. Like this kick, I just want to be pretty straightforward, but I might want there to be, if I copy this track here, so I have the drums on another track, and I'm going to leave the kick just being super straight for this. And then I'm going to put something different with like an effect on this one, I think. Maybe something like a nice long echo on there. So let's get to my effects, and I want to do like a tape delay. So let's pull that up. Where's my... I'll do the analog delay. That'll be good here. Okay, so pull this up. That's not the one I want. There's a long delay, and I can't remember which one it is. It's got like multi-tap, no. Tape sync, it's not the tape sync one. Well, I guess I can just start going through these ones and find. Nope, that's the same one I just did. Anybody guys remember which one is the delay where you have all those different heads that you can choose from? Maybe is it this one? Nope, that's not it either. There's just like a whole bunch of different delay settings for it. Multi-tap? Maybe that's it? Yes, this is the one I wanted. Because it just has like all these different heads on it. I have never used Slice myself. Yeah, that's what I want, like that. Something higher gain though. Maybe I'll do another delay on there and I'll just totally, I want it to be kind of like all over the place. Multi-tap. That's kind of an interesting sound. Okay, so I kind of wanted to include that in there and then just have there be something a little bit weird that's happening. So okay, and this one I'm not going to do a fixed length. That Selena's way too loud now. Yeah, and I just want to have it be like a shorter length. So I'm going to go back to my launch configuration here. And let's go ahead and record something here on this one. Oh, I was like, why is that being all funky? I didn't realize that I had my kick that I copied over there still too. So let's get rid of that. And then I want this fixed length to be different. So I'm going to come in here and then just shorten down the length to something that's a little irregular because I want it to keep looping in a time that isn't set for that. So I'm going to go to like right here. Just let it. Okay, actually that gives me an idea. I want to actually, I'm going to have another bass part in there and I'm going to copy it and I'm just going to leave actually the same bass line that's there, but I'm going to have it drift. So I want it to kind of be like offset from the two of them. So let's see, this should work out where I have this kick that comes in here. Where this is maxing out. We're talking about, this is the same thing we talked about last time where I got a problem going on with my output. So what I said last time that I suggest doing is if you go to your tracks, is that I send them all to a submix. I just use number 8. I don't know. I just do that because I have better visibility for it. So that way I can come into my mixer for number 8 here and show my effects. I'll put a maximizer at the end of this. and make sure that I'm not blowing this thing out. Oh, I don't mind how it sounds. It actually kind of sounds pretty good. Okay, so then I want to go to my clip here. And for this time, I want it to drift. And in order to drift, every time it hits that kick, I want it to be going slightly off. I'm going to have to come down to really shrink this down to like less than a measure. And I'm going to go for, I think it's 50 if I do halfway. See, the full amount is 95, so that would mean it's like 47. Is that even an option there? Okay, let's see how that works. Yeah, but I don't want the second kick. I need it to be more muffled. It's too much. So I'm going to come in here to, let's see, I could change that a number of different ways. Let's just do it from the kick itself, and I'm going to go to track edit. Yeah, I can't quite follow what your guys' whole conversation's about. Yeah, there we go. Let's do that. So then I just want the second kick to be not so heavy when I'm going in here. And so I'm going to need to EQ that a little bit. So let's take, it's kind of a nice little muffled. That's kind of what I want it to be, but I don't want it to be that bassy. So I could do that a number of different ways, but let's go from the pad edit. And I'll just put an EQ on there. I particularly like the, gotta get out of dynamics here. Parametric EQ, because it's got a nice low cut on there. I'm gonna turn that on, I think 60. That's pretty good. Then I can like, okay, yeah, so I'm just trying to push the force out of its like straightforward 4/4 kind of time thing that's going on, right? Because you just don't have very much flexibility on that. And the way that I'm doing that is I'm taking certain clips and I'm making them irregular lengths. So I have these two kicks that are, I don't know if you can hear them. Let me just actually isolate them. I can't remember exactly which track they're on here. Let's come back to the mix. So if I mute this one here, and this one here, do you see how this particular track right here, the clip is like, it's not even looping at a full measure. I got it cut down if you didn't notice that. I have the kick just one measure and I just shrank it down so that it's only going 4.5 beats so that it keeps looping. and keeps going irregularly with the other kick, and I made them different a little bit, so they're like sort of undulating differently from each other. Same thing I did with the snare. So you can push the force to some limits that um, beyond the kind of standard limits of where it should have been, just by kind of trying out these irregular lengths. So that's kind of what I would recommend if you want to. I mean, it is a huge flaw, David. Yeah, I totally hear you. It's like not only the problem of just being 4/4, but you can kind of like push your way out of it with this, just by able to control the clips of how you want them to go. I mean, it's not ideal, right? Um, but it will work. It will work. So I definitely recommend kind of approaching it in that way if you want some parts to drift. And I think it makes it much more personal too. So, or at least just off base, because think about like how many people are making music these days, and everything is just focused so much on kind of straightforward beat creation. So having something where you're able to have some more personality to it, like just go off, see what happens when you take something and you drift. You guys know there's a famous composer, Steve Reich, and he experimented with that a lot, about like that basically phasing, and would have people play the same part, but one of them's like playing it a little bit faster, and so they're constantly kind of shifting out of phase. And that sort of thing is happening here too when I'm doing these bass drums. So they're like slightly shifting. Although he would go, I made mine be more, that bass drum part, I made mine to be more still on the beat. If I wanted to shift that at all, I could still come back here and change this length to be just slightly less than a whole measure. Yeah, the bass drums are drifting. That's kind of cool sound. I actually like this one better than where it was before, when it's kind of drifting much further off from it. I could even experiment, maybe if I even just crank that down to something lower, kind of like this one here. So yeah, that's pretty cool. It's kind of a different, very different sound to it. Um, that's kind of fun to do. Or you could also do that sort of drift with regard to like maybe a different plugin or something. Let's maybe do this one here. Actually, that's not so bad. I'll just do something like this where it's going maybe I don't want to do that one. That's not the greatest sound there. You know, I don't know what the 4/4 thing is. Again, I feel like sometimes I feel like the people who design the force, like I'm like, did these guys make music or did they just sort of listen to something? Because it just we're talking about this is like software. There's a difference between like hardware problems, but it's someone clearly was like, they're not going to need any other meters. Yeah, I'd like to know who that person was. Hey, Houdini. That's kind of cool. That would work. I just can't find the sound that I want on this really. Maybe we'll just do this one here. Yeah, I'll just do that. Something really simple, okay? Why is the metronome not coming on now? Okay, let's, of course it's like coming on when I don't want it to. Let's try that one more time. Little goofy mess up in there. Let's take that out. Okay, and then I'm going to quantize this just to make sure. I want to be really robotic sounding. And I don't always want to, but this situation I do. Okay. Of course, it didn't turn out right. Oh, I see what happened. It just like quantized. That's kind of annoying. I'll just grab all of them here. Then I'll go back to timing correction. Yes, do it. And of course, that was the wrong one. Let's try that again. 16th notes. Oh my God, it's like worse than before. Okay, I'm just going to delete it. Sometimes quantizing it, you end up getting yourself into a problem that way. Wow, why is that so freaking hard to do right now? Let's see, these are the ones that I want to move over. Nudge to the right. these ones here too. Okay, there we go. So we're doing the Steve Reich thing a little bit here. So I'm going to copy this one and paste it over here. And for this one, I'm going to bump it up an octave. Yep, that's what I want to do. Wish there was an easier way of shrinking down the screen a little bit. Seriously. Okay, let's move these up to another octave here. Gosh, I don't remember how to, I don't want to move, I want to transpose them. That's what I want to do. I want to go, there we go. What the heck? Weird. I thought that I changed my, you know what I think I did is that I didn't copy the track, I just copied the clip. So let's go ahead and delete this track here, and I'm going to copy paste the track over here. This is such a hassle sometimes. Okay, let's see if this worked. Yep, an octave higher. I got to get rid of some of this noise. It's a little bit too much. Where's my noise factor in here? There we go. Get rid of that noise. Okay, so the whole point of this was to show you, stop, I want to go to clip. And then I'm going to take this loop length here, and I'm just going to make this a little smaller so that it's going to I want it to drift. But I'm going to drift it all the way back from here, because essentially this is the whole thing anyways. But let's just do it slightly less than a measure. Yeah, and maybe a little bit more out there than some of you are used to. Um, Modified little rubber fingers. That'd be kind of funny. David, to answer your question, I jump around between all of them. To be honest with you, I'm probably using the machine a little bit more lately because I'm particularly just working on my own finger drumming, and I'm trying to work up some performances and a set that I could do live and then play the whole thing that way rather than just running clips and whatnot, and maybe doing a conjunction. The Force is a lot easier to, at least fits with my brain better when I'm like sequencing MIDI stuff like that and doing wilder things, also recording audio. But the machine, man, those pads, they are just so much fun to play. And so being able to like put the samples out there and then also have it on the computer. So I've been using that a little bit more, but Force is a lot like Ableton. I don't know. I kind of just use a lot of different ones depending on where I'm at, actually, depending on what I'm wanting to do. The Force is just not like, these pads are just too small for me when I'm finger drumming. They work okay, but when you really want to get into it, and that's kind of what I'm more interested. But if I was going to be trying to sequence like external gear and whatnot, I just love the fact that you can see all your clips on here and be able to do that from the Force. It's pretty great. So anyways, that's kind of my thoughts today on a little bit of a wild. So breaking out of the 4/4 range, using different lengths, smaller clips, recording longer ones, experimenting with them. But I'm kind of liking the way these are drifting off in a very Steve Reich style. Oh, actually, I feel like the kick is just a little too far off base with that. Just a bit too much chaos going on. So I would probably just change this loop length to, maybe I'll just do something more straight. Yeah, that's pretty fun. I kind of like that. Maybe I'll even duplicate this other track here. And then let's make this clip let's make it even higher. So I'm going to go back to the notes and let's grab them all so I can see them here. Hold on. And let's grab these and pop them up an octave more. Come on. Oh my gosh. Like you said, sometimes just the ability, the screen is like my biggest complaint and joy also, having since I've gone back and forth. I know it's like it's drifting. I'm trying to push you guys to like think of some different things. The screen, I find myself when I'm playing the machine, I end up like wanting to like use the touch screen and I can't. that make it even worse? Yeah, that's kind of different, huh? Well, anyways, the point is, I usually don't save. I just kind of like, oh, whatever. It's just kind of a cool idea. But the point is, try experimenting with some irregular lengths. You could double a part. This is what I did here. Just double the same part and then just squeeze one of them off so that they're kind of like offset. Or you can just do that as a part in general. Um, uh, yeah, like we're pushing the limit here, trying to stretch the force out of like standard clips that repeat at the same time. So one thing you could do too, okay, this is another way to play with this. Just get here with the mixer and then like, well, let's go into external. Yeah, I don't really want to mess with external MIDI right now, but if you were getting in here and you were kind of like mixing these, you could kind of blend in the other parts, you know? So then you can kind of blend these different parts in and out, something like that. So you could have something that was irregular instead of it just, kind of overwhelming the whole time, kind of like use your slider or do something like that. That could be really fun in a performance where you kind of just ease in this thing that's like going off the path and just like, too many things. Like I had the bass drum, the kick doing the same thing a little bit too much. It starts to pull the chaos. I think having that straight beat then like helps you when you're like pulling it off. And I made the clip lengths on these now at least something from measure. If you really want me to get like funky with screwing with you, I would take these and like make them to be something that's like this. So then that's going to really make you want to like quantize it. They were quantized. They were just offset, in terms of length. So if you wanted to be quantized more, you have to make sure that if you're going to shrink down the length of the clip, that you really make sure it lands right on those like one of those little markers or something like that. So anyways, that's an idea, something to do. I got a jet here, but hope that was a fun Force Friday to stretch your mind to think of some other stuff. And I'll see you guys next week.